a lot of good things will happen, not just with him scoring, but then also it open up.
Oh, man!
Hello.
Timeout in Barron's house.
Oh, man, that's one of our favorite Mike Tirico calls. Also, the pick at the stick when Navarro Bowman shut down Kennedy Stick Park with that pick against the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Mike Tirico joins the morning roast, the voice of Sunday Night Football, who joins Chris Collinsworth on the call of Chargers-Niners this Sunday at 5:20 p.m. on NBC and Peacock, the number one rated primetime show for 11 straight years. He was also the voice of Monday Night Football. He's done the NBA Finals. He's done the NHL, golf, tennis, you name it. World Cup soccer. Mike Tirico, welcome to the morning roast with Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky the Butcher. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. It's good to be out here. Good to wake up with that good memory. Sitting next to Hubie Brown calling games there in the Baron Davis days with the Warriors. Man, that was fun. That was quite a night. I love that building because that building and Sacramento when the Kings were good, which was right when I was starting with the NBA in the early 2000s. Those were the two loudest buildings in the league, and the atmosphere there for late season, big West Coast games or playoff games were just fabulous.
Yeah, and that hello by Hubie Brown is so underrated. We love that. It complimented your call so well when Baron Davis dunked over Andre Kirilenko with the We Believe team back in 07-08. But, Mike, we got a big game on Sunday, and the last time you saw the 49ers was in Denver, week 3. Jimmy Garoppolo was making his first start of the season, and it was a dreadful game, no lie. Unless you want to say it was a defensive slugfest. 11-10, the Broncos won, and the Niners' offense did not look good at all. But now they add Christian McCaffrey. You're seeing a whole new offense now, Mike, this Sunday against the Chargers.
I'm trying to forget that game. I hope you are too. the second 11-10 game in the history of the NFL, 100-something years, and we stumbled on 11-10 with two teams that I think are very different, and obviously the Niners are so different. To think about for the first time to line up Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Trent Williams. You're talking about 5 players, the 5 of your 11 offensive players who are all pro caliber players. So that adds such difficulty to me for opposing defenses. And given the bye week, I'm really excited to see what Kyle and the staff have put together offensively with Deebo and McCaffrey and the conflict that you cause for the opposing defense with those two players because their versatility, they get the ball in their hands and they go. So I think it's one of those defenses you absolutely have to play safe. You can't let them have a big play, but the problem is a little screen pass to either guy can turn into a 40, 50-yard play just like that. So I love what this team has a chance to do in the second half of the season. Might be underrated in terms of the teams that can get all the way there out of the NFC.
You know, Mike, you obviously referenced one of the games that you were at earlier this year with Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of bounds, almost threw a pick 6, or Bonte called it a pick 8 on that play because of the safety and the interception simultaneously. But, like, Jimmy Garoppolo, we're in the bubble, and I call him Jimmy Grab Bag because I have no idea whether it's going to be good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. We just have no idea week to week. What's your assessment of Jimmy Garoppolo?
Guys, there are a lot of quarterbacks who don't have the ability to get a team to the Super Bowl, and I know he did. Now, is he going to get the team all the way there in the same way that Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes will this year if they get their teams, or the way we've watched Brady and Rodgers do it? Not necessarily. But I trust him more than I trust a lot of the guys who I watch in the league. His ability to throw on time, the catch and run, all the yak we talked about with this team, a lot of it is because the ball is delivered on time and in the right place. Does he miss some of the big stuff? Yes. Is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? Not at this moment. It would have to be a drastic change in the next 6 years, 7 years to have that conversation. But given what this team is right now and what John Lynch has built with great acquisitions, I think, and Kyle Shanahan's offense, Jimmy can absolutely get the job done. It's been close enough here the last couple of years and getting all the way there as well. So why not this time around? Instead of lamenting that, okay, I don't have one of the 4 or 5 guys who are in the VIP, inside the velvet rope group of quarterbacks in the league, I think look at the fit to this team and where can this team go in this year. Philadelphia is unbeaten. Minnesota has 1 loss, only to Philadelphia. Other than that, Dallas has a couple. The Niners can play with any of those teams. If any of those teams draw the Niners tomorrow for a playoff game at their place with the San Francisco defense, if it's healthy, and this offense, the Niners would be an uncomfortable fit for everybody, and that's with Jimmy G as quarterback. So I get what you're saying. I know why they were looking for Trey Lance for that other element to this offense. But given where you are right now, a lot of teams are in far poorer, tougher positions than the Niners are.
All right, we're talking to Mike Tirico, the voice of Sunday Night Football, the #1 primetime show for 11 straight years. Joins Chris Collinsworth on the call of Chargers-Niners this Sunday, 5:20 on NBC and Peacock. And I know you just called your 200th NFL game. We'll get to that in just a second. I know that's a great milestone for you. But when the trade was made for Christian McCaffrey, what was your initial thoughts when you saw that trade hit the timeline?
Okay, good for Lynch. Okay, good for John. Go get a Stanford guy back out here and put the band together. With Christian in this offense, you think about what's it worth. Okay, so you trade a 2, a 3, and a 4. Yeah, so a couple of those players may become starters, but to win right now, given what you have and the way Kyle Shanahan designs offense, there's no better fit. There is no better fit. And, now you start to get Elijah Mitchell back in the mix here. All of a sudden, this team looks a little bit different in the backfield. And McCaffrey, and when I was running through the All-Pros, I should have mentioned Juszczyk too.
Yeah.
When you think about that, because he's been a Pro Bowler for the last 6 years in a row. There are so many options, and this is a perfect fit. Christian's issue the last couple of years has been his health. But if we go back to 2019, he had a 1,000 season, which we've only seen a couple of in the history of the league. So that kind of ability, and we see it in spurts in Carolina, but let's be honest, the Panthers are not on the national stage as often as the Niners are. People will start to appreciate what a great player he is. I love this opposite side of the field situation we have Sunday night because you've got Christian McCaffrey, and if he's the best all-purpose back in terms of receiving and rushing, maybe the second best or equal with him is Austin Eckler from the Chargers. I think you have two guys who are the definition of what the running back position looks like in today's NFL. To be that, not just high fantasy point guy for the people who are listening,
right,
who are fantasy owners, but also the guys who make it difficult on defense. So I love this pickup for San Francisco.
It's a fun matchup, I think, on Sunday night. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there, and I'm seeing, obviously you reference Eckler and CMC, Herbert, Garoppolo, even though they're not going to be against each other per se. And then I look at Khalil Mack and Nick Bosa. I mean, one of the best defensive ends, outside linebackers in the game versus one of the best up-and-coming defensive ends in this game. What's the matchup outside of those that you're looking at?
Yeah, it's all trade-offs, right, guys? And, the bummer here is with some of those matchups, we don't get Bosa against Bosa.
Yeah.
We were all looking forward to see those guys on a field at the same, obviously not at the same time, but in the same game. Would have been so cool to celebrate what those brothers have been, both defensive rookies of the year when they came into the league out of Ohio State. The matchup I'm looking forward to the most probably will be watching the Chargers try to stop the variety that we've been discussing with 23 in McCaffrey and 19 in Debo and 11 in Ayuk on the field. Because they've got some people on their side of the ball. Derwin James, a hell of a safety. Alohi Gilman has come in a role that's allowed James to be a third safety on the field sometimes. Asante Samuel Jr. is doing a really good job as a corner. They're going to need versatile players to do things against the versatility of San Francisco. And the problem is right now for the Chargers, not having Bosa on the field for them limits their edge pass rushing, and people have run on them.
Right.
They looked really bad against the run in the first quarter against Atlanta, and then they changed their defense. The Falcons couldn't take the next move in the chessboard to beat them. San Francisco can do that. So that's the matchup I'm excited to watch. Can the Chargers defense stay with San Francisco as Kyle goes through that script and starts flipping formation, sides of the ball, and compromising the people on defense?
Before the season, Mike, we dubbed it the year of Shanahan, the year of Kyle Shanahan, because of having a new quarterback in Trey Lance who's going to make, his third start in the season opener against Chicago. We know he had 2 starts last year against Houston and Arizona, and we thought this is going to be the year Shanahan really is going to have to coach this team up. And now with all these weapons, and I'm looking at the rest of the NFC, you named it, Sirianni, Philadelphia, second-year coach, 1 playoff appearance. They lost to Tampa. Mike McCarthy in Dallas. He's had his shortcomings. They saw the Cowboys last year in a wild card game and beat them. And I'm looking at all the coaches in the NFC, and outside of Pete Carroll, I'm not sure I'd rather have another coach other than Kyle Shanahan. It feels like this team and this roster is set up for him to go on the big-time run and start to put his name back up there with Sean McVay and some of the best play callers in the league.
Yeah, he is. I don't think he left that spot for me. I thought this was going to be an interesting year to see Trey Lance in this offense, but let's take a bigger step back. You plan all off season and all year to have a quarterback in a style, and now you've got to pivot in the middle of week 2 and make this run for the rest of the season back to Jimmy Garoppolo. I know plays stay the same, all the terminology. It's a guy who's been in the system. But you were going down one road. Now you're turning and pivoting here. And there were a couple of sticky situations to handle. The Deebo Samuel situation was sticky. How's he getting paid? Receiver, running back, all that stuff in camp. And obviously with Jimmy, what a brilliant move by John Lynch and Kyle to find a way to make this work. I know it feels like it's ancient history. It took only a month and a half ago or 9 weeks ago. But when you look back now, that might be the move of the year, to find a way to restructure, but also keep him in a comfortable place where this can work for you. And Jimmy has now, and back to the point you were making earlier, Jimmy's a little bit betting on himself now, and he's got a chance to go out and earn big money somewhere if he has a great season here. And they've got the pieces to do it. So if you want to talk intrigue around the league, look, the Cowboys are the team that, you know, gets the guys on cable TV in the morning yelling all the time, right? Everybody's yelling about the Cowboys. How many people yelling about the 49ers? Just wait. I just think this second half of the year, if the defense can stay healthy, can really be special out here.
You know, Mike, I want to zoom out for just a second in sports because you've had just an incredible career. And Bonte and I, we always kick around our favorite broadcasters because we get geeky about it. And you're always at the top of my list for me. And I think of certain moments in Bay Area history, and you've been a part of so many great ones. I want to know what your favorite one is. 05, this is a random one. John Daly, Tiger Woods, the WGC, all right? Where
very good.
It was incredible. It was one of my favorite ones.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then you did the Baron Davis dunk. You did the final game, the pick at the stick. Are there other ones, or is one of those three? What's the number one that you think of when you think of going back to the Bay Area that you were a part of as a broadcaster?
So I'll give you one side one here that wasn't a game or a moment, but man, was I just on edge and didn't know what to do when the Niners played the Steelers at the stick. And the Transformer blew.
Oh,
That's
the blackout game. The blackout game.
Smith had like 4 or 5 sacks in that game.
Yeah.
We were like 10 minutes with, okay, what happened? Was it another earthquake? Did something happen out here? Because we were completely out of touch with everything. And I remember getting on the phone and calling into, it was like college radio on the phone talking, but instead of being on the air to 20 people on a college radio station, we're on the air to millions of people watching on ESPN doing Monday Night Countdown at the time. That was a bizarre night. All those are fun in their own unique way, but my favorite of all of them was the last game at the stick. I mean, Willie Mays is there.
Wow.
Vince Clark, rest his soul, is there. Steve Young and Jerry Rice are throwing a touchdown pass to the end zone.
Wow.
In the pregame. Excuse me. That was one of the great nights just to be a kid who grew up in New York. But, you know, you always had this mystical candlestick, whether it was the Giants or you'd watch the Mets were my favorite team growing up. You watch the Mets come out here in July for a 3-game series, and it was freezing cold. You're like, what is going on out there? Right? And then all the years of watching Madden Summerall do the Niners out here.
I talk about it all the time, Mike.
Mike,
Seifert, all that stuff, all of it.
You're tugging at my heart, dude. I grew up near Candlestick. Right. That's my spot. And watching the Willie doc.
Yeah. Please tell me you watched the Willie Mays doc. I don't know if you're a busy guy. Have you watched the doc yet?
I did. Look, when Willie ended his career in New York, it just kind of, back in New York, just kind of reconnected you to one of the great players in the history of sports that we've had. And one of the, that name alone, Willie Mays. Right?
Wow.
People make a catch in any sport anyway. Like, oh, it's a Willie Mays catch. And people still know it. And he hasn't made a catch in, 40, 50 years, right?
Right.
But they still talk about him. That's the sign of greatness. But, we have a son who's out in school out this way, so getting out to the Bay Area is always fun. But when you do drive from the airport to San Francisco, I always do kind of look over there to the right.
Oh, it hurts our heart. I drive there every morning. Every morning, Mike, when I'm on the way to the studio.
I miss it.
Or when we're going to Chase Center, I drive by and I see that empty lot, and I'm just, because that's our childhood right there, Mike. But we share cheers Joe and I, we both talked about it, and we both had tears coming down our eyes at the end of the doc, and we never seen Willie play.
Yeah.
And we know all about Willie. We've seen him at Oracle Park. We've seen him at the Bonds number retirement, and we both had tears coming down for a variety of reasons.
It's the coolest, really. And just I told this story, an article that I think is in the Chronicle today. The reporter asked me about the Lee Lattice game at the Stick, and just remember I was doing it with John Gruden. We're up in the booth, and there was a chance that the Niners could have hosted a playoff game, but they needed like 17 things to happen in week 17, right? It was unlikely, but it was one of those you couldn't with certainty say it was the final game at the Stick. And at some point, we're like, let's just say it, and if we've got to go back and apologize for it later, that's great, because it likely will be. And I just remember saying to John, if there's no more games, we can take that little sliding thing that says network TV booth here. We can take that as a memento, because there'll never be another broadcast in this booth again. So I think 9 years later, I could admit that we did think about taking it, but we didn't, just in case there was one playoff game there after that. But would have loved to have walked away with that memento of Candlestick. But to think of all those great Niners games over the years on TV that I watched, when we walked out of the booth, like John and I remember we just said to each other, hey, it's going to be the last time anybody does a game here. How blessed are we that we get the chance to do it? It was really a fun night, and this is such a great area. The name The Faithful for the fans is so right for this group, because they are such good fans.
Real quick, Joe, I want to jump in here because you brought up Gruden, and you guys did a couple. I don't know if it was the blackout game against the Pittsburgh Steelers or that last game, but there was a graphic. Gruden talked about how Charles Haley made Gruden pick him up and drive his car. It was like an 88 Delta or something. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember the car. We heard the story a bunch of times, and John was like so many of these guys around the league. They're such great storytellers because they were around it. And the people who were around the Niners, I think of John, I think of Mooch, over the years, they have so many great stories to tell because of the players that Eddie DeBartolo brought in here, the way Eddie and Carmen Policy treated them, and the way Walsh coached them up and then coached up the coaches. So the people who touched the Niners were, for a generation, the best players, the best coaches. So hearing some of those stories over the years were great, and we finally convinced John, you got to tell that story on the air with Haley. It's just great. And there are some other Charles stories that can't get on the air.
Well, Fonte ran into him at the NFC Championship game after we all went down to L.A. and we're sitting in the stands and everything, and after the game was over, you ran into him, right?
Yeah, and Charles Haley was more disappointed than I was about the loss of the Reds. I had to pick up Charles Haley, Mike Shasky's best friend, Rocco, sat next to me, and we're sitting up just like, Charles, man, I know it's a tough one. And we were depressed, and Charles Haley sat there like he just played.
But isn't that the best?
Yes.
It is. Isn't it the best when you see these guys have that same connection and you understand what made them so special? So the one thing I was thinking about this organization, obviously Walsh was here and there were so many coaches and so many great players. Think of all the coaches that have been around Kyle Shanahan, the different places. That tree is one of the most significant coaching trees in the NFL right now. And rare that a franchise has one coach like that. The Niners could have two. And it's just an appreciation. Look, this is a team that you want to see win a Super Bowl or get to more Super Bowls. So does everybody. But as you travel around and you deal with coaches and you deal with the level of sophistication of what they do and how they run their program, Kyle's right up there with one of the best that I've come across over the last 10 years. No doubt about it.
And it's so hard to win just at any level. And, John Madden took 9 years to win his one and only. So you were talking about Candlestick Park. And I grew up near the neighborhood. So to me, it's nostalgic for a variety of reasons. My dad used to take me out there all the time. We watched the Willie doc, and it was the old, Candlestick where it was open bowled. And I knew it as like a football, baseball venue. And then eventually the Giants built a beautiful crown jewel at downtown. But you visit all these brand new stadiums, and I know that new and corporate money is where it's at, and you visit all these, but aren't we missing something? Are we missing the nostalgia and the soul of some of these franchises, like the Yankees, for example? Bonte says he's been to Yankee Stadium.
The new Yankee Stadium,
and the new one just doesn't hit the same. Candlestick was its own entity, and I know why they built Levi's, but isn't there a part of you that kind of wishes we had a couple of these crown jewels like Candlestick that we could just stay in, even though I know it's old and cold, but it was, I don't know, it just had a soul to it, Mike.
So I told you I grew up a Mets fan, and my favorite T-shirt that I saw when the Mets ended their run at Shea Stadium, like Candlestick, built in that era, baseball and football combo plays, right? The stands would move, accommodate. The T-shirt I saw was, Shea was a dump, but it was our dump.
Yep.
Right? We loved it. We had that emotional connection. It's a different time in sports. When you just look at the volume of, think of the romantic connection of listening to games on the radio, and obviously down in Southern California, people listening to Vin, or up here listening to John Miller call the Giants games, or Hank Greenwald, fellow Syracuse alum.
Love Hank.
Over the years, right? There was a connection that was different. It's just a very different time, and it just is not feasible to have that. So what replicates that? Fans.
Yeah.
Fans. Like, you go to SoFi, and you guys know when the Niners play at SoFi, it's the Rams have to think about having a silent count. Right? It's at home. So the fans replicate the play. So there will be times when you'll come into Levi's where, okay, it doesn't rock like the stick, or it doesn't have those, silly wind aesthetics that the wind's blowing everywhere. Yet the place can rock if the team gets really good, and that at the end of the day has more of an impact. So
that's true.
Of course, we're nostalgic for for the arena where the Warriors played, all the 18 different names it had. We're nostalgic for the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, Candlestick. But time moves on. Here, we're lucky to have those memories of those places.
Yep.
And I think that's what defines long-term sports fans, in my opinion.
Couple more for you, Mike, real quick. Derwin James Samuel Jr., our text line, is into this interview, Xfinity Mobile text line. Talk about those Florida State guys. They're saying, hey, they're going to beat up on your Syracuse Orange tomorrow. I happen to be a big-time Florida State fan. I had my producer, Sam Lubman, who you talked to on the phone, wear a Charlie Ward jersey on Monday because Florida State beat up on Miami. So I know Syracuse has slumped a little bit after nearly beating Clemson, but also you called your 200th NFL football game at the Link, Philadelphia and Dallas. What does that mean to you? Because you've done a little bit of everything. 200 football games, and I feel like you've been on our airways forever.
I was not the one counting, I can promise you. When the guys told me, oh, that's cool. I've been lucky enough to do them all in prime time. I think that's the difference, doing the Monday nights and then some Thursdays along the way, and now Sunday night. And I found that just getting back to this rhythm of doing an NFL game every week is so much fun. I did enjoy doing the studio show again. Monday night, the Monday Night Countdown was the precursor to Monday Night Football for me. And then Football Night in America has been the precursor of my NBC days to doing this. But just the camaraderie of a group to go out every week and go NFL city to NFL city and have the broadcast build. And it certainly has very little to do with me or Chris or Melissa Stark. It's our production team and that group. And to watch it come together, my athletic career was non-existent. And to be a part of a team and know that camaraderie of the team and build it together, that's what I love the most. So the chance to start to do this again has been the biggest joy out of doing all these games over the years.
And Mike, I got to share this story. Shasky here is a big-time golf fan. He loves golf. He lives for it. My first memory of golf, I didn't even know what a par was or birdie was until the 98 U.S. Open. And I had to work there as part of the football team at Washington High School. We were cleaning up the trash. We were selling hot dogs and everything. And I remember on the last day, I'll never forget this. You were in the cart, and we were blocking you guys. And we all moved out the way for you. And you said, hey, guys, thanks so much, man. You guys have a great weekend. Where you guys go? You asked us about what high school you went to, and you drove off. And I've never forgotten about that. And as we grow into business, Shasky and I, we kind of take that similar approach to all our fans, all our audience, saying, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Where you from? And that memory has never left me. And I'll never forget it when you said, all right, guys, have a good one. And you just rolled off in the U.S. Open when Lee Jansen beat Payne Stewart III. That was our first golf memory, and you were part of it.
Well, that is cool. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Those, when you do events, and you guys are around it now, that's the joy of it, right? You get to see how it starts and where it ends, and all the people who make an event come together, which is neat. And golf's the special one because people volunteer. People give up their vacation week to come hold up signs that say "Quiet, please," right? just to be around it. But we were doing the shows for ESPN early and late around those U.S. Opens. What a fun experience that was. And golf has taken me to 5 different continents to call sports, right?
Wow.
And, you just have such an appreciation for how good they are, but the people who make it happen. So thanks for volunteering 24 years later, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No doubt. It's never left me, man. I was like, Mike Tirico's always good in my book, man.
Legend.
And, coming on the morning roast this morning with us. We appreciate the time.
Yeah,
26
thank you,
minutes.
Mike.
I know you're a busy guy. You got to
We
meet with the
appreciate
coaches, the Chargers, the Niners, but we'll be listening. We'll be there, and then we'll watch the replay when we get home and get ready for the morning show. So have a good call on Sunday, man. We appreciate the time.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed the visit, and we look forward to doing it again soon here.
Absolutely. Mike
What a
Tirico,
legend.
the voice of Sunday Night Football, joining Chris Collinsworth on the call for Chargers and Niners this Sunday at 5:20 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. What an interview. We go from him to Brad Graham as SF Niners to break down the Chargers and Niners even more. We gave out some tickets. I want to get the name of the guy we gave out tickets to. And don't forget, Jerry Rice joining the show Monday at 8:30 via Zoom. That'll be a lot of fun to recap Niners and Chargers. Mike Tirico, what a great get. Good job, loving on that one. Brad Graham coming up, brought to you by Outdoor Supply Hardware, Fremont Bank, full service banking, no compromise.